If you're a brand new comedian, figure out jokes. If you're in it for a while, then use open mics as a networking opportunity.
At the very least.
Yeah, at the very least. Yeah. And then beyond that, I don't know what the purpose of an open mic is.
We'll get back to you, folks.
Yeah. I don't know, free drink.
Today, we talk about... I feel like comedians just inherently have like a cynic gene or like a self-criticism, self-deprecation gene to them where we're just like, nah, we ain't shit.
I present it like this. In improv, there's a rule, and you say yes and.
Right.
Stand-ups are the opposite. We say no.
Right.
Because.
Yeah. No, it's honestly, that's definitely what I've noticed. And it's just like this harsh, I mean, I agree with you. Comics in general are very nice people, but as far as just like that self-deprecation, lack of self-worth, I have it too.
Yeah, so like that's one thing that I've tried to move away from in stand-up. Like, Anthony Jeselnik? Yeah, so I got to open for him once.
Oh, no shit.
And he was very nice. He sat down and just let me kind of just berate him with just comedy questions, because to circle back, it's like he was one of like my guys when I was starting up comedy. Starting comedy, it's like, oh shit, I want to be like that guy, right? So to open for him was like a big kind of
rite of passage.
Yeah, rite of passage, and for him to think I'm funny also was like one of those validation things.
Right.
I'm funny now.
Oh, it's a big deal.
Like, this guy who I idolize thinks I'm funny. It's like, okay, I don't have to worry about being funny so much anymore. But one of the things he does is, in terms of explaining his persona, is that he said he doesn't like being laughed at. So why would he tell jokes about like self-deprecation? It's like, it's with his style.
He doesn't like being laughed at?
Yeah, like his style isn't like, there's little to zero self-deprecation.
Right.
It's all very, braggadocious.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's the right word, but
I get what you're saying.
Yeah. He's not the butt of his jokes,
right?
Because he's like, in the grand scheme of things, like I don't really like being laughed at. And then I realized, I don't like being laughed at either. So I try to present myself or my comedies like I don't self-deprecate too much.
Gotcha.
It's the sprinkling of here and there to get people to, I think once you self-deprecate, there's a little bit of vulnerability in that, and the audience appreciates that.
Right.
In the grand scheme of things, I think there's other ways to go about it. But with a lot of comedians, and then I noticed this a lot in the Bay Area, where it's like, I'm a platted loser, I can't get dates. And it's like, I don't really relate to that.
Yeah, right.
So,
not only that, but like at some point it just gets old, because it's like, bro, like I've heard. Have you not yourself heard this act like a number of times already? So,
and then I mean, it could just be one of those things that cycles. Is like you present yourself as this, lovable loser, and then people laugh at that, and so that's your kind of like acknowledgement. So it's like, oh, if I continue to be
like a positive feedback loop,
then this is just enabling this thing that doesn't really make you happy.
Right. Well, I think it's just like an easy tool. It's like, it's easy to just get up there and say, I'm fat. Like that's funny. Like, and great, but like, it's also not very creative. But it is an easy tool. And I feel like a lot of stand-ups start there because it's an easy tool. Like, where else are you going to start? You're going to start with an easy tool.
That's where I started too. It's like, and then you get those ahs, and then you're like, why are you guys on? I'm joking. It's like, because what you said was profoundly sad.
Yeah. I think that one's winning is the most popular button today. Man, no, I totally agree. It's but also, I mean, I always have to remind myself too, is like most open micers will remain open micers and or just die out. Like they just won't move on to the next step, and not everyone becomes like a, let alone world-renowned comic, but just like a touring comic.
It's a very small percentage.
Yeah, very small percentage. So I always have to remind myself of that too, especially when it's such a mind fuck going. And I'm sure you go to shows back in the Bay Area, and then you come back here and it's just like the mind fuck of like performing for the two varieties of audiences.
Well, I mentally prepare myself. It's like moving out to New York has been a thing I've always wanted to do.
Right.
In terms from like just when I committed to doing stand-up, and I learned that you go to LA to become famous, or you go to New York to be good at stand-up. And it's like, I want to be good at stand-up. It's like, okay, when I move to New York, it's not going to be good anymore for a long time.
Right.
And so I know going back to the Bay is one thing, but I can't bring that same energy back to New York, because I've seen it. You know, like people in the Bay Area will go move down to LA. Say, all right, I've done everything I can in the Bay Area. I'm going to move to LA and I'm going to be famous now. And then they come back and do all the stand-up shows in the Bay Area again because they couldn't get time in LA. And it's that, you know, it's like they didn't properly have set their minds. It's like, it's going to be different. It's going to be hard. And you can't hold on to what was good. You know, you have to kind of move on and accept that, you know, you have to look down the road. It's like, believe in yourself. It's like, this is going to get better because it's like, I know what I'm capable of. And so when I go back to the Bay Area, it's like, oh, that was nice. All right. But like, that has nothing to do with what I'm doing out here. Other than, you know, practice and honing your skills.
Oh, yeah, of course. But, dude, I don't know. It's still a mind fuck for me. I imagine,
like, you're probably doing a lot better in Iowa.
Yeah.
Right?
But, way better.
Yeah, way better. But, you know, I don't...
Actually, and not just Iowa. Like I said, I was just in my hometown. I just happened to be there because my sister got engaged. Yeah. And first of all, my dad just surprised me. He's like, yo, I'm going to need you to do time, you know. I was like, oh, what? Obviously, he meant more like just like a toast thing. But I was like, all right, yeah, I'll make some jokes. He's like, oh, you're the big comedian now. Let's hear some jokes. I was like, oh, goddamn. So like, I sat down.
Why didn't you just ask me to show off my sneakers?
Yeah, I actually did go into that a little bit when I gave my little spiel. But yeah, that was like maybe one of the best sets I've ever done. But you have to put it in context, right? It's like everyone's at a wedding to have a good time. Everyone's family or friends. It's like you can't fuck this up. Like, you can't even try to fuck this up. And then you go, and then I just they happen to only do stand up the second week of every month, and that happened to be the second week of June. So I reached out to the guys up there that do some of the comedy shows. I'm like, yo, is there any shows? And I'm like, yeah, actually there is. I was like, oh fuck yeah, go. So I did actual shows, and by doing the first show, they were like, oh my god, man, you're great. We should have you on our show. And then they invited me to an additional show. I'm like, I'm feeling like the fucking man, you know. And then I get back here last night. Or not last night, but like last night was my first open mic since I left. And first of all, like I told you off air, I'm going from doing 15 minutes to now 3. Yeah. And it's just like, dude, this is annoying. Like,
but think about like the growth, you know, like the first time he's like, do I even have 3 minutes? To now it's like, that's not even enough time for people to get to know me. Right. So that's the thrill and then the, you know, downside.
The challenge and the challenge, you know.
But what was I going to say about all that? Yeah, but like you understand that, you know, you went from being a big fish in a relatively small pond, and then now you're in, you could be a big fish, but you're in the ocean.
Yeah. So well, I started in the ocean. Well, no, I mean, I technically started in Iowa, but as far as like where I really started to take stand-up seriously was here. Yeah. So I understand what it takes to be funny. Yeah. And I know there's a long way to go to get there, but it's just funny. Because a lot of these guys don't leave here until they get good, if they ever get good. Yeah. Whereas just the nature of my lifestyle currently, like I'm traveling to other places and happen to be able to do stand-up there. And that's where the mindfuck comes in. Because like this early in my stand-up life, I shouldn't be getting not shouldn't, but like I shouldn't be exposed to these other opportunities because it really mindfucks you. Like, oh, dude, like they're laughing. Like this is clearly funny. Yeah. You just got to find a way to make it work here. So it's just that's what I mean by mind fuck. So, you know, I'm capable, I'm going to keep at it, you know, and it got, you know, many years to go, but it's just like, it just gets annoying, you know. that's basically the big thing. And I think the time is the biggest factor. Cause like you said, like you want to flesh things out. You want to get people to know you want to build things up, but I don't know. The nice thing, I guess, is it really forces you to get funny, because I saw a lot of unfunny acts up there where I'm just like, dude, why are people laughing at this? This is not good. And if you went through your whole life doing that and then came here, I imagine it would be kind of like your friends who went to LA and then, you know, have to come back.
One thing about going home is that there's a comfort level and you understand the audiences a little bit better. It's hard for me, what I find out here right now in the first year is trying to reestablish myself or establish myself and have people get to know who I am, is I can't, how do I say this? I can't do like newer jokes in front of like showcases. You know, it's like I have to do tried and true
your best
things.
Stuff, right?
My best stuff. I have to like show these comedians who have no idea who I am that I'm funny. Right. And you can't, for me, I can't risk, you know, doing more experimental things because it's like I'm not getting booked all that often, so I can't squander these opportunities. But when I go back to the Bay, it's like, you know, it's home. It's like, if I fuck up here, who cares? I go back to New York. Yeah. Whereas if I fuck up here, it's like, God damn it, now I have to it's like that boulder. It just falling a little bit.
No, yeah, I totally agree with you as far as showcases go. But I think the nice thing about the open mic show is that's where I take the creative reign to be like, all right, let me try some new stuff. Because even if I just get that little, you know, like that's good enough for me. I'm like, yo, this shit is going to kill in Iowa. Can't wait to use this when I get up there. Boom. But yeah.
I'll say this about open mics. A shitty open mic in New York is a shitty mic anywhere else. Okay. So there's shitty mics everywhere. So one thing that helped prepare me for New York is when, like, I've been coming out to New York from the Bay Area like twice a year for the last 3 years before I moved, because I wanted to like move here, get the lay of the land, right? Yep. So when I first visited out here, I was like, I'm gonna just do my A+ material in front of this crowd and show them what's up, and then it all died at open mics, right? And then I got on showcases and it did well. I was like, it's not me. It's just the open mic. So one thing that I do at open mics, like, I'm not gonna do material because it's like, why bother? It's gonna die anyways. So you got to just figure out another purposeful.
Just get creative, you know.
Yeah, it's like you got to make open mics more useful to you.
Exactly.
Like if you're a brand new comedian, figure out jokes. If you're in it for a while, then use open mics as a networking opportunity.
At the very least.
At the very least. And then beyond that, I don't know what open mic is, to be honest.
Get back to you folks.
I don't know, free drink for running the open mic.
Or what are you, barking for the open mic? That'd be, actually, that honestly may have some value in it, just to get like regular people into an open mic, because that's the other thing, man. Like, there's still just open mics out in Iowa. I've done a couple booked shows, but to be honest with you, I can't even tell the difference, because the open mics get regular people, and sometimes decent crowds, like half filled, if not fully filled rooms. So it feels like a showcase or a booked spot or whatever. So that's kind of the
in Iowa. There's like there's probably like one comedy club, maybe. Right.
Well, two. Actually, now there's one comedy club, and then there's a bar that they use the downstairs.
Like a really good bar show. Maybe 2 or 3 like independent shows, but like there's one kind of big club. Then everything else is like, how much comedy does Iowa get? New York's like, you can get it anytime, anywhere.
We just missed the other one. And there's another one.
So it's just that.